Well, for more on this, we're joined by Robert Geller. He's a professor emeritus of seismology at the University of Tokyo. Thank you so much for speaking to us on this news hour. Now, this area where the tsunami hit and the earthquake, it is an area that is prone to such quakes, but a magnitude of 9.1, could that ever have been expected?
Yes, it should have been expected, but the problem is, even if it can be expected, it's something that only happens once every, let's say, 200 or 300 years. So you can expect over, let's say, the next 1,000 years that you'll have maybe 2 or 3 earthquakes like that. But there's no way to expect exactly when it will occur. So it always will come as a surprise.
And what an awful surprise it was 20 years ago today. What did seismologists learn from that quake that has shaped the way that we look at earthquakes today?
Well, from that quake in 2004 in the Indian Ocean, and also from the 2011 quake in Japan, in Tohoku, which was also magnitude 9, we've learned that earthquakes like that can strike subduction zones anywhere in the world at any time, although the frequency of them is very, very low. So we should be prepared as best we can. But it's very, very hard because they only happen usually when everyone who experienced the last one has been dead for several hundred years. So humans, unfortunately, forget.
It seems like something that is very difficult to forget, especially for those who have survived, who have lost loved ones. Have countries in the region, though, become better prepared for such disasters?
Well, maybe to some extent. But the problem is, people who are alive, of course, they remember it. But in Japan, before the Tohoku earthquake in 2011, the one before that happened more than 1,000 years ago in the year 869. So, of course, everyone who experienced the last one had been dead for over 1,000 years when the next one hit. So historical records exist, but human society has so many other things to worry about besides tsunamis, unfortunately.
You would think that, but there are those areas like in Indonesia where they have changed the infrastructure. They've tried to have better preparations for their people, earlier warning systems. And it's not just in Indonesia itself. You're in Japan, which of course, like you've just said, has also experienced many earthquakes and also does have a fairly good early warning detection.
Well, that's correct. After a tsunami initiates, there's some chance of issuing a warning. And people, depending on where they live, they may have only a few minutes to run away to higher ground. And there may not be much higher ground. So people in Japan and Indonesia and elsewhere are doing the best they can to be prepared. But it's not so easy, unfortunately.
Will climate change affect tsunamis in the future, because they're having such a drastic effect on so many parts of the world already? One wonders if this will impact the way tsunamis are taking place across the world, or if that will mean that they even start becoming more frequent at all?
Well, most large tsunamis are caused by earthquakes, and climate change is not going to have a very big impact on earthquake occurrence. So I think the answer is basically no. That climate change poses many, many threats to human society. But tsunami impact will not be greatly affected, I believe.
Thank you very much, Robert Geller, seismologist in Tokyo. Appreciate your time.
Certainly.